Hello, and today we're going to be reviewing the Ryobi P305 18-volt cordless hot glue gun, so let's get started. And starting off at the bottom of the tool, we have an 18-volt battery slot, which will accept any of Ryobi's 18-volt batteries. Overall, the slot is nice and secure, and I've never had an issue with the battery falling out, so I think this is a good design. Now, the runtime using a 4 amp hour battery was right around 3 hours and 20 minutes, but that was just with the switch turned on and not actual usage. I think if you're actually using the hot glue gun, your performance probably won't be that good, but I really didn't want to waste that many glue sticks since I didn't have any projects at the moment that required a hot glue gun. But I can tell you from past experience that I was usually getting around an hour and 20 minutes of runtime with a 4 amp hour battery, which is still a fairly good performance. So I think it gets another pass here. Now, the fact that it's cordless is also a super convenient and nice feature to have. If you've ever used a corded hot glue gun, you probably experienced at some point where the cord wasn't long enough, or you accidentally tug on the cord and the glue gun would fall over. You won't have that issue with this hot glue gun, and quite frankly, since it's a self-standing design, it'll probably never tip over unless you really accidentally give it a hard bump. So this is another good feature of the hot glue gun, so it gets a pass in all three areas. Moving upward to the grip, overall the grip is nice and comfortable to hold. I have medium-sized hands and I have zero issues holding it. It has a nice rubberized texture and it's comfortable to hold. And I don't think it's going to accidentally slip out of your hands easily. So overall the grip is another good area on this tool. Okay, moving on to the trigger. Now, the trigger is made out of plastic and it's a 2-finger trigger, although you can use 1 finger with it. Overall, the design is fairly decent and it does its job just fine. It does feel a little bit plasticky, but overall I haven't had any issues, and after a couple hundred glue sticks, I think if there was going to be any issues, they would have shown themselves by now. So overall, I think the trigger gets another pass. Okay, moving on to the on-off switch. The on-off switch is located on the left side of the tool, and it's a fairly simple switch. The forward position is the on position, and the rear position is the off position, and the light turns on when the tool is on, and the light turns off when the tool is off. So overall, it's a fairly decent switch, and I haven't had any major issues in its operation. I have had an issue where it's located, however. If it had been a little bit higher up, it would have been less easy to bump, and I think that would have been a better solution. But as it stands right now where it's located, it's fairly easy to accidentally bump and turn off the tool, and I have had that happen once in a while. It hasn't happened a whole lot, but it does happen, and it's a little bit irritating when it does happen. So there's a little bit of a con there, but other than that, it's a perfectly fine little switch. Okay, moving on to the body of the tool. Now, overall, the body of the tool is made out of the same green plastic as the rest of the tool, and it does a fairly good job at keeping itself insulated from the heat. If you hold the tool for too long or too tightly, you'll definitely get an unpleasantly warm hand, and it definitely is not something you want to do. But if you just need to quickly grab it to move it or something, it's not going to be an issue either. The area that gets the hottest on the body of the tool would be the area directly in front of the trigger on the underside part of the body. That area is definitely an area that you want to avoid holding at all costs, because that area definitely does get hot. So that's just an area to keep in mind. But overall, it's definitely more insulated than some of the old school hot glue guns that I've used in the past. So overall, it gets a pass here. Okay, moving on to the nozzle or the tip, whatever you want to call it. Overall, the nozzle or tip on this particular hot glue gun is a jack-of-all-trades size, and it does a fairly good job with most jobs. If you are looking for a more specialty sized nozzle, the nozzle is removable. Unfortunately, Ryobi doesn't seem to be selling the replacement nozzles or different size nozzles anymore, since they're sold out everywhere and you can't seem to find them anywhere. If you are desperate, you can look on Amazon and you will find some, but they seem to be a little bit overpriced on there. So it just depends on what your personal needs are. For me personally, the stock nozzle seems to complete all the jobs I need it to, so that's what I typically use. So overall, the nozzle on this particular hot glue gun is a good nozzle, and I think it definitely gets a pass. Now, weight-wise, without a battery and with very little glue in the gun, it will weigh right around 396 grams or a little bit under a pound. And with a 4 amp hour battery and 8-inch glue stick, the tool will weigh 1,138 grams or a little over 2.5 pounds. The tool's length is a little bit over 7.5 inches, and the tool's height using a 4 amp hour battery is around 9 inches. So overall, it's still a fairly compact little tool. Okay, now performance-wise, the hot glue gun was able to use up an AdTech 10-inch crystal clear glue stick in around about, it was about 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that, I think, was a fairly good performance. Overall, the performance was fairly good. The hot glue gun never completely stopped, although it did slow down around the 7th or 8th trigger pull, and it definitely was a lot harder to pull the trigger after that. But like I said, it never completely stopped, so I think that's definitely a passable performance, considering it's a battery-operated hot glue gun. So it gets another pass in this category. Okay, let's go through the pros and cons of this hot glue gun. And the first pro would be 18 volt. Overall, the 18 volt system is definitely the easiest system to adapt batteries over from different brands, and it definitely provides more than enough power for most handheld power tools. So overall, I would definitely consider this to be a pro. Cordless. I know this is kind of the same as 18 volts, but the fact that this is a cordless hot glue gun is just so nice. It is so nice not having to deal with those pesky, annoying cords, and the fact that it can be so much more mobile than a plug-in hot glue gun is definitely a nice and pro feature in my opinion. Two-finger trigger. Overall, it really is nice having the two-finger trigger. It definitely comes in handy for when you've used up a lot of the hot glue and you're forcing more glue into the heating chamber. So overall, I would definitely consider this to be a nice feature. Full size. A lot of the hot glue guns you see on the market that are cordless will be of the mini stick variety or the smaller hot glue sticks variety. So overall, I definitely like having this be the full-size hot glue sticks because, quite frankly, it's a lot easier to use a full-size hot glue gun in a lot of situations than one of the minis. Removable nozzle. Overall, the removable nozzle is definitely a nice feature to have. It comes in handy for if you need to clean the nozzle out, or if you need to replace it because of a freak accident, or if you just simply need a different shaped nozzle. So overall, I would definitely consider this to be a pro feature. Lightweight. Overall, this tool is a very lightweight tool, and this will come in handy for if you're helping out at your local school's craft fair, or if you just have a lot of work to be done inside your house that requires a hot glue gun. So definitely a pro feature. Runtime. Using a 4 amp hour battery, I'm guessing that you're going to be looking at, for light usage, anywhere from around 2.5 hours to 3 hours, and for heavy usage around an hour and a half. So overall, I would definitely consider the runtime to be good on this particular hot glue gun. Self-standing. Overall, I would definitely consider this to be probably the biggest pro on this tool. The fact that it's battery operated and can stand by itself means that you won't have to worry about accidentally pulling it over, knocking it over, or dealing with that annoying, irritating cord which always knocks over the glue gun. So overall, I would definitely consider this to be one of the biggest pros about this particular hot glue gun. And the first mat is heat up time. Now overall, this isn't any slacker in that department. It just isn't as good as it probably could be. It takes the hot glue gun around 2 minutes for the first glue to start coming up, and I'd say it takes about 2 minutes and 30 seconds for it to get up to full power. So overall, the heat up time isn't bad, but it's not wonderful either, and that's why it's in the meh category. And the first con is the switch location. Now this isn't a huge deal, it just is a little bit annoying when you accidentally turn off the hot glue gun and you have to wait for it to turn itself back up to its full power. So overall, the switch location would probably be better off if it had been a little bit higher up, but like I said, it's not a huge deal. And the next con would be no drip tray. Now, this isn't that big of a deal. It just would have been nice to have a little plastic drip tray that you could flip out or flip back in. But like I said, it's not that big of an issue, and it just is more of a convenience feature than anything else. So, another little con. And the last and biggest con would be the price. Now, when I first purchased this hot glue gun, it cost $30. But for some strange and inexplicable reason, which apparently has absolutely nothing to do with politics, new laws, and inflation, the price on this hot glue gun has gone up $10 since last year, meaning the price for this hot glue gun is right at $40. And that means that this is a little bit hard to recommend simply because, well, the next hot glue gun in the series from Ryobi is $50, and if you pay that $50, you'll get 2 additional nozzles, as well as the dual temperature settings, as well as a drip tray. So, quite frankly, it makes this hot glue gun a little bit harder to recommend. It's not that it's a bad hot glue gun, it's just hard to recommend because of the price. And that is it for the pros and cons. Final thoughts on this hot glue gun. Overall, I really do like this hot glue gun, and I've used it quite extensively at this point. I've run a couple hundred glue sticks through it, and I think it's been a fantastic tool with 0 issues. My big issue with recommending it, however, is the fact the price has gone up $10 since last year. And for another $10, you can get the dual temperature hot glue gun, and you'll be able to get not only the dual temperature, obviously, but an additional 2 nozzles, as well as the folding drip tray. So quite frankly, I really do think that that's the better value here. But if your object is not necessarily value, it's just getting the cheapest full-size glue gun, I really think that this is a good option. So it does come recommended. I just wish the price hadn't gone up, and so quite frankly it's recommended, but I don't think it's the best value. So that's about it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. God bless and have a happy new year.